The live stream is loaded at the bar.
Reading live.
We're ready?
I'm gonna X out of YouTube. Not quite, almost there. Okay, we're ready.
Welcome, everybody. It is 5:31, Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. This is the Parks, Culture and Recreation Board meeting. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Sorry.
You want me to start over?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lacey Parks, Culture and Recreation Board meeting. It is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023, 5:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we will start off by doing roll call and introductions. Would you like to go on first, Commissioner Wheeler online?
Sure, I am Commissioner Aaron Wheeler, Lacey residence extraordinaire.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amber Good, Park Commissioner, co-chair.
Thank you. And then Erin, do you want to do your introduction?
Erin Quinvento, museum curator helper today.
Thank you. And then we'll start with Jenny.
I'm Jenny Wilson. I'm a Parks Planner.
I'm Paul Brewster, Senior Planner with Thurston Regional Planning Council.
I'm Nathaniel Clay, the Youth Commissioner for the Parks Recreation, Agriculture Recreation Board.
And I'm Commissioner Goodwin, Wendy, and Chair.
I'm Bill Fosbury, Commissioner.
Hillary Dykstra, Commissioner.
Gary Larson, Commissioner.
And is there anyone else online? Okay, we have everybody. All right, the next item, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. I'd like to motion or request a motion for the approval of the agenda as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, is there any further discussion? None heard. The agenda is approved as written for this evening. Moving on to item 1B, approval of our October 4th, 2023 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'm confused.
Okay.
Three, where I made a statement about I was, the charging parks for water in their park. And it says here, Commissioner Larson requests to consider adding park water and irrigation costs for the city to the 24 work plan.
Would you like to amend it?
Well, I was asking why we do. They, our own users that use it, and that, and that's what my question was. Can we get that ball rolling to have a reconsideration? It probably has to go to city council for approval. Be amended. That was what I was hoping to achieve out of that comment.
Okay. Do we amend that for the minutes then, Jenny?
Yeah. How do you want it? How do you want it amended?
Well, I just, why are we charging our own so much? I mean, the water bills at the rack and just, and also I did a lot of contract work with Will Thurston. And, build all the fields and you guys use them too. Then the city, like at Horizons outside the city limits, you penalize them 1.5 because they're out of city limits. Any water service you give outside the city limits has got, an upcharge. So I was just hoping that we can discuss that and I don't know how that works
Okay,
out in the
so-
work plan.
So how about Commissioner Larson?
Just request a review and why we are charging our own user groups or.
So to review why park water and irrigation costs for the city or can be included in the 2024 work plan? Or consider why they're in the?
Well, I was, I don't know, I was just trying to get an answer of why we're charging
I think
ourselves.
Jen is following up on it, so if you're comfortable, I think request review of water rates for.
Yeah.
City school use.
Yeah, why are we charging?
Can I request one minor change? My name just has one L.
Where is that?
On the commissioners excused Hillary Dykstra. On page 1 of 5. On the.
Minutes. They always misspell my name, so I got lucky.
Not this time though.
Mhm.
Got those changes.
Was there any other noted amendments to?
So I'd move to approve the minutes as amended.
Do I have a second or a motion to,
Second,
okay? So we will approve the minutes as amended for the October 4th, 2023 minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none. Is there any other discussion about the amended minutes? Hearing none, we will approve as amended. And then Sue Faylash has just joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Lacey Phillips. I'm the recreation manager for the city of Lacey Parks, Culture and Recreation.
Thank you, Sue.
It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And we're moving on to agenda item number 2, announcements. Do we have any announcements for this evening? No. Okay, and we're moving on to item number 3, public comment. Are there any public comments remote? Anybody online? And I don't think we have anybody checked in from the public to comment. And are there anywhere else? Am I missing anyone from anywhere? Okay, publicly commenting.
I like the way they're formatted.
Yes,
It's way easier. I don't remember even how, I just remember it was hard to follow before. This is nice. Is that you? Good job.
It's really good.
It's hard for me to follow too.
Like,
With
oh,
emails, it was like
Yeah.
weird. and-
Mm,
yeah, this is wonderful.
yes. And I think that's part of the correspondence, so that'll be, everyone has that in their packet, so I'm assuming everyone read the correspondence and saw that they were
I like it too.
acknowledged.
Yep.
All right, and then we're moving on to business items. The Thurston Regional Trails Plan updated draft by Paul Brewster, and welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me to come present to you this evening. Before I start, is it okay to put this in presentation?
Absolutely.
Before I start introducing the Trails Plan, I just want to introduce the organization I work for and kind of why I'm here. So I work for Thurston Regional Planning Council. We are a council of governments. Lacey City Council members and the mayor serve on intergovernmental organizations throughout Thurston County. Our organization is a regional planning council, so we work on a wide range of planning issues from transportation, land use, housing, and one of those is regional trails. And by way of reference, for your council representation on our council, Mayor Ryder is the chair of our Regional Transportation Policy Board, and Council Member Robin Vasquez represents Lacey on our regional council. And Council Member Carolyn Cox, although she's not representing Lacey on our council, she represents Lot Clean Water Alliance on our council. So we have 3 Lacey council members that interact with TRPC on a monthly basis, and they've all received a briefing on this draft plan. And I'm just here tonight as an informational briefing to you to share with you what we have on our plan. So I have no ask for you other than to enjoy the show I'm about to provide you. So I'm gonna give you an overview of what's in the trails plan, why we do it, just share some of the information that's in there and talk about next steps. And for the commissioners that are online, I'll try to look in your direction too from time to time to make sure that everyone's feeling engaged. And so why do we do a regional trails plan? We look at trails both as recreational facilities. Here in Lacey Parks, Culture and Recreation manages the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail. In the city of Olympia, their Parks Department manages the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail. And Thurston County, their trail system is managed by their Public Works Department. But much of our shared use trail network has been constructed with Federal Highway Administration funding. That's transportation funding that's passed through our agency that we have awarded to the cities and the county for the actual development of these trail corridors, and in some instances, the acquisition of the right of way. So this goes in hand from higher up. We're trying to be consistent with the Washington State Active Transportation Plan. It's consistent with our region's regional transportation plan because we view shared use paths as kind of the backbone of our non-motorized or our active transportation network. And it aligns with the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan because being able to use shared use paths as a means for traveling around the community can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So lines perfectly well with a lot of other planning measures, but also the big picture, it's in demand. People like using trails. They like being outdoors and traveling around, and it just kind of makes sense that we have a strategic plan that looks at how do we better coordinate and connect our trail network across jurisdictional boundaries.
Can I make a request? Can we minimize the Zoom screen and move the bar up?
Is that okay?
And then the square there on the right, where
No,
our
not
video
here.
is.
Here, for the pictures of us right there,
Yeah, just,
and then move it up, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
thank
There
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
no, it's fine.
Jump ball.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, so talking about what's sort of our baseline, what's the context from where we're starting from today? We're rounding up a little bit here. There's a little over 59 miles of existing trails that are open to the public, that are paved, that are, I'll say they're developed. A total of 14 existing or distinct trail corridors. There's 10 organizations or agencies that own the trails, but 9 of them that are really actually operating them. And the difference there is being that Washington Department of Transportation owns the I-5 bicycle trail corridor, but it has an interlocal agreement with both the city of Lacey and Olympia to actually manage and operate that facility. We have about 37,000 people that live within a half mile of existing trails. That's approximately about 12% of our population today. So what are we planning for looking to the future? We're looking at expanding our network by about 110 miles. It's fairly aspirational, which would bring us up to 16 trail corridors. Still the same number of owners and operators. But based on 2045 population, we'd have about 160,000 people living within a half mile of a regional trail, which is about 42% of that future population. And you can ignore this box here. That's just from another map. So we have, this says proposed here in the middle, that's covered up. We have 3 types of trail statuses in the plan. Planned are those projects that are identified in a local plan and either a feasibility study has been completed, preliminary engineering and design has been done, or we own one of the local agencies owns the right of way to it. Proposed is one that's also identified in a local plan, but there hasn't really been any significant work done to get us closer to actually implementing such a project. And lastly, conceptual are those really aspirational corridors where we're kind of squinting and saying it would make sense to have a trail here because it would connect this trail to that trail. Or it would be good to connect these communities, but there's really been no further work, no investments in any studies or progress towards acquiring any right of way, but we think we're recommending that perhaps there should be to make our network more connected. Here on this table is showing the status for Lacey's trails within the regional trails plan, and not much really coming from the city of Lacey in terms of future expansion. The existing network is the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail, which runs from about right up here where the hub junction is, all the way out to Lacey Woodland Creek Community Park. This portion highlighted here in this light blue is this proposed 3-mile extension that goes all the way out to the eastern limits of Lacey's urban growth area. We have Lacey as a lead because someday we're thinking Lacey will actually eventually annex this part of the area. So it could be that Thurston County might someday acquire the right of way and construct that trail. But through perhaps early discussions, it could be that Thurston County would want to maybe have an interlocal agreement with the city of Lacey to actually do the maintenance of that facility. So when we talked about that 110 existing miles, quite a bit of it is actually in that conceptual and not proposed status. So what went into informing the regional trails plan update? We started off with the 2007 Regional Trails Plan, which I'll just say I authored that plan, so I've been around TRPC that long. We inventoried what existing facilities we had, partially through that bike map that I handed out to you. This is one of the products that we do, and we collect data from jurisdictions, including shared use paths, sidewalks, the road network, bike lanes, things of that sort. And for those of you who don't have a paper map, it's also online at thurstonbikemap.com, and I'll leave copies here for Jenny that she can provide to you. We did a March 2021 community survey. We posted signs out on the trails with the QR code. People could take an online survey, pushed it out through social media. We had about 1,200 community members respond to that trail. And we actually just finished another survey where we had just shy of 1,200 people respond to that on the content of the actual trails plan. We sent out a kind of a trail maintenance and operations questionnaire to the trail managing agencies to kind of get a sense of how frequently do you visit your trails, how do you maintain it, what type of patrolling activities do you have for security and the like. And we summarize that in our existing conditions section. We had a trails advisory work group that consisted of both staff from jurisdictions. Jen Burbidge participated on that work group, as well as other community representatives, people who are trail users, to help shape some of the plan's policies and recommendations. And of course, you know, City of Lacey has a pedestrian bicycle plan. That was one of the resources we used. So in that first March 21 community survey, the major themes we heard that guided the development of our plan update was people think we should prioritize maintaining what we have, that it's important that we keep the trail surface, the pavement surface in good working condition, that we maintain our wayfinding signage, benches, restrooms and the like. We expand trails first within Thurston County before we consider how we expand it to neighboring communities. Enhancing trail related infrastructure, people want to see more things like restrooms, water fountains, lighting, street crossing improvements, things that really enhance the user experience with using the trail, making it more user friendly. And an overarching theme is also, how do we improve connectivity from neighborhoods to the network? And not just to shared use paths, but overall across the community, how do we improve bicycling, walking conditions for people to move around? One thing I should have clarified at the beginning of my presentation, when I am talking about shared use paths, I want to be clear, I'm talking about like the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail, the Chehalis Western Trail, Yellow Rainier Tenino Trail. These are paved trails, usually like 10 to 12 feet wide, multi-use, not single track nature trails where we're not focusing on those types of trails. Those are important for recreation and getting outdoors, and we would like to see our shared use paths connect to those, but we're really talking about these former railroad corridors or utility line easements. So in many ways, we are kind of constrained where we can extend and expand our regional trails network, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So talking about the pieces of the plan, I'm not going to state the obvious here, but I'll talk a little bit about what's in the current conditions, the goals and policies, the types of recommendations in the plan, how we go about funding the trails network, and the update process, and where you can find more information about trails that might be coming to a neighborhood near you. So I kind of talked about the why, but recreation and access to the outdoors. In that March 2021 community survey, 90% of the respondents say they principally use our trails for recreation, whether that's just get out walking their dog, for fitness, just socializing with friends or family. That's the primary purpose. Transportation, only about 20% of respondents said they use the network principally for transportation uses. But another big important piece is that expanding our regional trail network is one way that we can provide people more transportation choices to get around the community. We're seeing a growing popularity in the use of e-bikes on trails. That ship has sailed. You have a question?
Well, no, just having you bring that up, how are you addressing? Because every time you go into a trail, it says no motorized, but they're motorized.
True, and I think that language motorized kind of predated what we saw as coming with e-bikes and electric scooters and that sort of thing. Something in the transportation industry is coined like micro-mobility devices. My understanding is the city of Lacey prohibits the use of e-bikes on the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail. Thurston County does not on their trail facilities, nor does the city of Olympia. One of the recommendations in the trail plan, a policy connected recommendation, is we think that the parks departments from across the jurisdictions need to huddle and come up with some sort of joint agreement on what is acceptable. Because if you get out and drive our road network, people want to have the same expectation about the level of service and rules of use, regardless of what jurisdiction there is. On the road network, you have the manual of uniform traffic control devices, which dictates, okay, you stop at a stop sign, you stop at a red light, you stay on the right side, keep right, pass on the left. There should be standards for how people use a shared use trail network. And with e-bikes growing in popularity, we wouldn't want someone to travel from Olympia to Lacey and realize, oh wait, I'm in Lacey city limits, I can't ride my e-bike to Lacey Woodland Creek Community Park. What we want to do is encourage people to say, okay, I'm on an e-bike, I can go faster than most users. I really need to regulate and monitor my behavior, what speed I'm traveling on the network, and be courteous to other users around me. So that's sort of the direction we want to go, is how can we build kind of a culture of use and extend courtesies to people so that we're focusing on how people behave on the trail and not what device they're using on the trail. That's a long-winded answer, but
No, I just know.
that's how we're trying to get to it.
It's just
Yeah.
increasing, and it's just,
It is on my work plan.
is it on your work plan? Good, because I have one.
So we kind of talked about these, but people we take the bike map and we distribute it at bike shops in Pierce County. I've gone to the Seattle Bike Expo in years past and handed out the bike map. People come to our community because they want to ride our trails. And when they ride our trails, they want to eat at our restaurants or go to our brew pubs and spend money. They realize that it's a quality of life issue and it matters. So that's why it's important we continue to try to coordinate regional trails planning. Existing conditions is really the chapter that lays out the baseline for what's on the ground today. We talk about who owns and manages the trails. what types of facilities are out there in terms of wayfinding signage, lighting, types of street crossings, equestrian facilities. Talk about, the population that lives within trail corridors, what types of facilities it's connected to in terms of like transit connectivity, access to public facilities like libraries, schools, parks, and trail utilization. So TRPC, we acquired this big data set from a company called Streetlight Data, and the source of that data is they ping people's cell phones, and they're able to distinguish through algorithms what speed people are actually traveling to distinguish this is someone driving a car. Oh, here's a lot of phones clustered close together traveling at this speed, they must be on a bus. Or these people are moving at this rate, they must be a pedestrian or a bicyclist. When I presented to the Backcountry Horsemen's Association, they asked me if they were able to distinguish equestrian users from bicyclists and pedestrians, and I don't know the answer to that. But what we're looking at here is the average daily volume of bicyclists and pedestrians on, in this case, the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail for its entire paved extent for June, July, and August 2021. So just an average day for those 3 months. The thicker the green line, the higher the utilization. So you can kind of see here, if you look to the east as you're approaching from Lacey Boulevard to Woodland Creek Park, that number of users really tapers off. Really lovely stretch of trail, nice lighting, nice landscaping. It just doesn't get a lot of high use on that stretch. As you can see, the stretch from Boulevard Road to the roundabout where the Karen Fraser intersects with the Chehalis Western Trail is the most used portion of the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail. And here we're looking at the Chehalis Western Trail from Woodard Bay. It's a little cut off on this image, but it's down to basically near State Route 507, with most of that use being in the vicinity of Chambers Lake, with kind of that peak daily volume of 418 cyclists and 551 pedestrians using that stretch there around Chambers Lake. And part of that reason is there's a great density of residential units around that part of the trail, as well as Panorama City residents. And then here we're just showing that this stretch here from like Fir Tree Road down to Waldrick Road is the most popular segment of that trail anywhere south of Yelm Highway. And that's a lovely stretch of trail that parallels parts of the Deschutes River if you haven't been down to visit that.
It's very remote. Yeah, you've been.
So here is on this photo, this is former Secretary of State Ralph Monroe. There's now a trail, a shared use path named after him in out near West Olympia. Used to be called the McLean School Forest Trail. He was a real mover and shaker in trying to get that trail constructed, and Ralph served part-time on our Trails Advisory Committee. But the Trails vision is talking about we want our regional network to be first-rate, accessible, and expandable, and of course, well-maintained. And it serves both recreation and active transportation for all users. And we want to connect all Thurston County communities. There's 5 goal emphasis areas within the plan: a connected and accessible network. That's just saying, how do we expand the network? How do we connect it to desirable community destinations like parks and schools? Making it accessible for all people, regardless of their age or ability, that people who want to use the trail can get on and use the trail. User-friendly network speaks to that it's somewhat predictable. People can go online, they can go to Lacey's website and find out information about the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail and how long it is and where they can get on it, and what types of uses are there and what does it connect to. There's wayfinding signage, milepost markers. People find that it's easy and friendly to use. safe and secure experience relates to keeping the trail in good, safe working condition. But also that people feel personally safe, that they feel secure, that when they go out and use the trail, they're not worried about any criminal behavior or being fearful of how other people are using the trail or interacting on the trail. Collaborative effort is how our jurisdictions coordinate together on the planning and the development of that network, not only on the construction side, but long-term maintenance, because we know it's one thing to find funding to build the trail, but having that funding to do all of that routine maintenance and that asset management, you know, being able to go out and replace that pavement when it's buckled up by roots and having the funding to do so. So we have 33 policy recommendations, and those policy recommendations are really speaking to how we manage and operate our network and how we should coordinate and work together. So for example, one of the recommendations is commit to developing the trail project recommendations in the plan. It would be developing a joint use rule across the agencies on the use of electric bikes on the trail. Developing a joint rule for a 15-mile-an-hour maximum speed limit on the trail. Right now, there's no speed limit on the trail, and when we have e-bikes and e-scooters, it's a lot easier to go a lot faster. So 51 project recommendations, 11 of those are trails or like restroom facilities or something like that we would expect to be completed within the next 5 years. 14 projects within the next 20 years, and 26 we're not really sure, so we're just saying 20 years and beyond, and that's where those conceptual projects come into play. So here we're looking at employment density. This is jobs per acre. This right now we're looking at the year 2017. The darker the red, the greater the employment number of employees who work at that location. And here we're looking at now 2045 with that employment density in addition to what we're looking at in those blue dashed lines as our proposed network expansion. Here we're looking at Hispanic, Latino, or races other than white as a percent of the total population, and this is from US Census. This is showing US Census tract data. The darker the red, the greater the density of population of Hispanic, Latino, or race other than white, or BIPOC populations. And so what we're trying to do is using this kind of information to say, how can our trail network, and not just our trail network, but when we look at our regional trails plan and transportation facilities as a whole, how can we do a better job of serving populations that are typically underserved in our community, our vulnerable populations? Same here for poverty. This here is percent of the population below the federal poverty level. The darker the red, the greater the number of people who are living below the poverty level in that area for these census tracts. So as we can see, there's more work to do to connect parts of Tumwater and parts of the city of Lacey and Lacey's urban growth area to the east and parts of West Olympia. The real substance of this plan is tucked away in the appendix of corridor details. This is the only appendix, and this is where we get into the details of the actual trail projects. And for each of these 51 project recommendations in the 16 corridors, there's a map devoted to those corridors, and they're listed in kind of an alphanumeric format. So each trail is assigned a number, and the letters correspond to specific projects at that location. So here we're looking at this conceptual Lacey to Yelm Trail corridor. And we talked about a portion of this earlier as that conceptual expansion from Lacey Woodland Creek Park out to Lacey's urban growth area. And so for each of these, We're identifying who are the trail sponsors, a description of the trail corridor where it connects to, who are the leads. If the status of the trail, whether we know the right of way is secured or not, cost estimates of if they're available, what would be the timeline and next steps. So if you really wanted to learn what trails are coming to your neighborhood, I just suggest jumping straight to the appendix of corridor details. So the funding, how are we gonna do this? Well, to date, as I mentioned earlier, our agency awards federal funds to our member agencies for trail construction between 2007 and 2022. We awarded 4.3 million for construction of the towards the construction of the trail network. What's not shown on here, by pulling together, I don't know if any of you ever heard of the Bridging the Gap project. That was an effort to connect the southern end of the northern corridor of the Chehalis Western with the northern end of the southern section of the Chehalis Western. So basically, before we didn't have bridges across Martin Way, I-5 and Pacific Avenue for the Bridging the Gap project. So starting really around 2001, our agency really spearheaded an effort to do that. And it was former mayor of Tumwater, Pete Komet, who said, hey, I think we should set aside $500,000 to acquire the right of way to bridge that gap. The city of Lacey in turn actually flipped that federal funding and said, hey, we'll take that federal funding and put it on one of our transportation projects and in exchange for local funding to do that. And that vision was realized. So former Congressman Brian Baird helped secure like over $5 million to do the bridge across I-5. And former Representative Sandra Romero, before she became county commissioner, secured funding to do the segment over Martin Way. And our agency funded a significant portion of the Pacific Avenue crossing. There's other grant programs available. For example, Washington State Department of Transportation has a pedestrian bicycle program. It's awarded $5.3 million to local agencies here in Thurston County since 2009. I'm going to say that funding did not go to trail projects, but it went to like those types of neighborhood connections, filling in gaps in sidewalks, improving the safety of street crossings. Same with the Safe Routes to School grants, and those are projects that are generally funding projects that improve safe routes to schools and are generally in school zones. That's that like 200-yard circumference around entrances to schools. So to keep the planning process going, we included some recommendations. One of those is to establish this regional trails advisory work group that would advise our transportation policy board and council on how do we coordinate across jurisdictional boundaries. And that's one of the purposes that TRPC is meeting with Jen and some of the other Parks Department directors to just sort of clarify expectations and say, what could you gain from this work group? Because this work group would consist of both local agency staff that are involved with trail maintenance operations, planning and programming, as well as community members, trail users, people with disabilities, to try to have a more whole community approach to how we plan our trail network. Probably not immediately, but we would like to convene this annual regional trail meeting that would be more public facing, because the public wants to be aware of what's happening with our trail network, what's being developed, what's coming near them, to inform them of what types of projects are coming. So that's something that we're figuring out how to do that. And then TRPC, we're committing to updating the trails plan every 5 years. The plan was last done in 2007, and here we are in 2023. Too much time has passed to do that, so we want to keep this plan more current and up to date. Next steps. Tomorrow, our technical advisory committee, which is staff, so Martin Hoppy, who's the transportation manager for the city of Lacey, sits on that technical advisory committee. They'll be performing a final transportation staff management review of the regional trails plan. a week from today, our Transportation Policy Board will be taking its final review and forwarding a recommendation to the council to approve the plan for adoption. And on December 1st, we're asking our regional council to adopt the trails plan. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions and open it up for your discussion.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. This is Aaron Wheeler. I was curious, does the expansion of the trails, does that also include like upgrading safety features across some of the busier streets? I mean, is there going to be like a standardized way that there's going to be a safer crossing?
Yeah, so one of the policy connected recommendations is for jurisdictions to actually identify those locations that are higher volume street crossings, like whether it's a major collector or maybe a minor arterial, to look at what would be a crossing treatment that would be appropriate. For example, City of Olympia is doing a major reconstruction of Phones Road, just east of Lacey city limits, and they're putting in a mid-block crossing improvement there with some pedestrian bicycle activated controls. One of the recommendations for a project is where the Yelm Rainier Tenino Trail crosses State Route 507, just west of the city of Tenino, that we're saying, hey, we need to have some crossing improvement at that location because it's crossing a highway where vehicles are traveling in excess of 60 miles per hour. So yeah, to answer that, but there's not a lot of like project specific trail crossings identified except for that State Route 507 Yelm Rainier Tenino Trail crossing.
Would it be up to public comment to spur those needs at different locations?
Yeah, and what I would recommend you do is you actually provide that comment specifically to the jurisdiction where that crossing is located. That would be far more effective. You are welcome to copy us on that. But one of the roles of this Trails Advisory Work Group is in the future to take a look at, hey, where might some of these crossings be that warrant analysis and identifying an improvement? Because our agency has funding to do those types of improvements.
Okay.
Is
Thank you.
that for Lacey, that would be Lacey or transportation?
I would recommend transportation. Wouldn't hurt to also send it to your planning department. And if it's on the trail, it wouldn't hurt to send it to Jenny as well.
I'll take it.
Are they is there gonna be a discussion about them being universal? Where these,
The treatment,
yeah, where a crossing would look universal as a standard protocol that every time you come to this, like a railroad crossing, we know that it looks.
Like standardized safety features, but it
Yeah,
could be
that's-
designed differently for each location.
that's a great question. That hasn't been discussed, and I'll just say there are standards for presented like in FHWA has some recommended standards. The state and highway transportation officials have some recommendations for standards. NACTO, the National Association of City Transportation Organization, has standards. So there are a lot of standards for each of the cities in the county to come to an agreement on a specific treatment would be difficult at this point. But I think it's worth saying, what should be a treatment that is logical for trail users to encounter, that they would feel safe and readily recognize and know how to interact with that crossing treatment.
Yeah, because the crossing treatment for right there by Camacho Middle School, for the Chehalis Trail there is completely different than if you look at Woodland, when you're going out towards all the roundabouts and you're trying to get over there. So everything's not standardized. So when people are crossing, you got lights flashing at one place, but another one, people just drive right through. Where a crossing, yes, there's some stripes on the road, but it's not as predominant as you see some of the other.
And I think this in the cities, you tend to see more urban type crossing treatments with push button activated flashing lights, audible signals that correspond to the push button activated, more signage. When you get out into unincorporated Thurston County, you tend to see less treatment. Thurston County is actually, my understanding is they're going to be doing a trail crossing study for the Chehalis Western Trail and the Rainier Tenino Trail. But it's far too early for me to say what their plans are for those types of crossing treatments.
Well, and Commissioner Goodwin, that crossing is actually the one that I had in mind of one that needs to be improved. I don't think that one's been an older crossing that has not been improved. I think that was very reminded me of much of the Phones Road crossing there that they're just now improving. But that is a very dangerous crossing if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, and there's no flashes and then people fly through there and kind of come down a hill, so you don't really see them as you're trying to make that cross.
Well, and it's difficult to see them coming too. It's all wooded up to the road for the bikers as well, so you don't see them coming until.
Near the vegetation, there's another crossing too, where for drivers and pedestrians, bikers, you can't see anyone until they're in the street.
Yeah. Then it's that Camacho Middle School, so
Okay.
as you're going down on Wiggins it's right there in the middle.
37th.
Yeah, so all the apartments are on the left and then it kind of drains up from Chambers. And so when you're going, you can get a good fly going across there. and
I've seen
bikers
people fly through without even slowing
stop.
down.
Yeah, and the
like
cars fly
bikers.
through and don't
Yeah.
stop. So it's one of those crossings that doesn't have any lighting or.
They used to have almost like wickets or gates you had to go through, and then they sued over the American Disabilities Act, said you can't
Correct.
do that, we have to have the
Yeah,
actual route, so.
yeah. So it's been taken I always stop.
I
never-
would stop too,
I
'cause somebody's like.
Yeah, that,
I slow way
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, but I see people, cars are flying and bikes are flying.
Before the trail was completed, that used to be the greatest jump in Lacey. You could catch air
Yeah.
off that train track. It was wonderful. But I did not do that in 1997 at all.
Even just cutting the vegetation back
I wish they do
would be a
that.
big.
Mhm. Yeah, anything where we could see an approaching and then the pedestrians could see oncoming traffic, cause it's a little late by the time we get them, but I don't know if there was a discussion, just have universal, so it was.
Yeah.
Wherever we're going as a.
I mean, in just general, traffic engineers tend to look at what is needed at the specific location and what are the tools available to them to address that.
Well, it's good to know that there are, there's a governing body who's working on improving it, and that there are evaluations that are, more official evaluations coming soon on the whole system. So I assume our concerns will be approached.
I just want to reiterate, at any time, if there's a location that you're concerned about or want to offer feedback, don't hesitate to reach out to your community or even reach out to TRPC, because we'll forward that information on to the trail managing agency.
Thank you.
Rick, like on Union Mills, I'm not sure what the story is. I'm assuming into the IP plant, used to be the,
Box plant, the Weyerhaeuser box plant.
yeah. Is that tied up because they won't let it go? For a trail, isn't that part of the
Yeah,
trail?
my
system?
understanding is, the operator still uses that line for car storage. The plan, our regional trails plan is to acquire that right of way should it become available, for future expansion of the network. Working with the railroad companies is a challenge, to say the least, and they're not gonna give up their right of way unless they feel a need to.
I'm excited to look at this map. Thank you for bringing.
Yeah, you're
this.
welcome. Okay.
Sounds
You all have a great evening. Thanks.
great. Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Thank you,
Very
Paul.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Wendy, I want you to walk every one of these.
Huh?
Visit every site.
I'm sure I'm clocked
Be done by
on.
tomorrow.
I'm sure I'm clocked on the miles per hour and all that.
She walked up on the Budget.
No, we don't, I mean, let's just move forward.
Okay.
It's in the packet.
Okay, so item 4B, the 2024 proposed LPCR budget.
So you all have a copy of the budget in your packet. The recreation budget is looking at $3,472,030. The community buildings fund is $951. 550. We didn't have a whole, well, the recs also looking about $121,281,000. It's down a little bit. The rack is down a little bit because of the some improvements that were made that needed to be addressed. The bottom line for our Parks and Recreation budget is pretty much status quo. We did move, we took the fitness programs, which used to have their own line items, and we moved them into the sports because they were overseen by the same supervisor.
What page you on, Joe?
I'm not on any page.
Oh.
She's speaking from,
Speaking.
she just knows that
Intelligent level.
there's a lot of information.
You should have read this, Gary, way before now.
Mhm.
I did. Got it all highlighted.
I'm just giving you some of the highlights. Some of the highlights. We took that, we completely got rid of the fitness. It didn't make sense. We have like 3 fitness programs. And then you have the whole sports. So we just moved those budget line items into the 05, into the sports. They oversaw them anyway, so there was really no need to have 2 completely different program sections. We did add $2,000 into the volunteer fund. We, pull my computer, maybe. Some of the other changes that were made, we were able to, just to kind of address some of the different needs. We pulled 62,000 out of the part-time salaries for aquatics and kind of redistributed them where it was needed. They haven't been used in the last 3 years, and if we need to pull them back, we were able to do that.
Is that because you can't find instructors?
We don't have instructors, and also the other big issue is the lakefront is no longer, we're no
okay.
longer. And we used to have money that was coming into our budget for that, but now they've absorbed it into the general fund, so the detail that's going out for the police department is coming out of their budget, not ours. So it was just kind of trying to make things make a little bit more sense. Some of the other big deals we ended up, the revenue for the community center Jacob Smith House has been increasing and getting back up to the normal. And because of that, they've also been expending their part-time staff. At this point, they're already over, so we kind of balanced that out as well. So I don't want to say to rob Peter to pay Paul, but we took a really fine-tuned look at what we were using and what we needed, and if we weren't using it and hadn't used it for the last 2 or 3 years, we didn't necessarily take all of it, but kind of reallocated it into the areas that were having a little bit higher need. So that was, at the end of the day, we're at the same. We just turned over the budget. We just redistributed things. So if anybody had any questions on that, I'm more than happy to answer that. And the regional athletic complex is the same way. I mean, we're just kind of doing what we can to make everything work. And so far, everything is kind of playing out as we'd like to see it. And what we're needing from you guys is just an okay to move it forward to the city manager to move it on to the council for approval. But if you've looked at it and you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them for you.
I do.
Of course you do.
Why, of course.
Thanks.
Well, I noticed in here that insurance costs went up so much. Why?
Oh, I can't talk about insurance because that's all that's out of my.
Well, but I think I brought it up to talk with.
Yes.
No, doesn't the city of Lacey self-insure? Most big agencies do.
Right, but here,
But I look through here and I see enormous insurance line item budget items.
and that's something Jenny is gonna follow up with you on. There are certain things just for the good of the order. Full-time costs, benefits. When we go into the buildings, the insurance and all of the utilities, they don't allow us to touch. That is done up by finance. they're putting those numbers in. So we don't have any control over those. We just have control over our correct costs. So some of those questions, which are great questions, we'll have to get back to you on,
Okay.
just because we don't have any control on what numbers they put in there.
And that was typical for last year as well, when you
But
gave
every
it-
year.
Yeah, when you. It didn't change from the previous
Yeah.
years.
And there's some areas that we're honestly trying to get things, I mean, there's some areas where there's more money in than there should be and less money in, and we're trying to do our best to streamline all of the budget items so they're a little bit more reflective of our actual uses and not just because we've always had that amount of money. Because there are a lot of areas where we're short and some areas where we're long. But at the end of the day, the reality of it is within the recreation department, it's the bottom line. And so it just hasn't been a huge issue because as long as we're making where we need to be at the bottom line, I just don't think the pennies and cents have been a big issue where it is for us, but it may not be for those up higher.
I will ask about the
Yeah,
insurance costs.
then
given to-
just the other property taxes. Aren't we exempt
Don't know.
as a public agency? Aren't you exempt from property taxes? We got one here.
So I know the rack gets a hit on sales tax,
We're paying ourselves property tax?
not property necessarily, but there's sales tax based on the revenue that's coming in.
Oh, that was revenues. I'm sorry, I did have that.
And-
Yeah,
I was to say under revenues.
Yeah,
so
that was
People have to
revenue.
pay
Yeah.
leasehold tax if they use public property for their own private
So
benefit.
Yeah, I was reading the wrong
The
one.
concession at Rainier Vista has to do it, it's like 12.84% leasehold tax on their concessions every month. So yeah, there are some taxes that are just taxes.
We'll break it.
I have a question.
I think it's on the first, let's see, the first page, yeah. Office and operating supply?
Or what line item are you looking at?
Let's see, the number?
Yeah.
General services 001740157
365.
3101
And it was at 7401 or 7403?
7401.
Okay, what's your question?
Oh, why did we spend
$17,000 in office supplies last year, this year, but next year we're only budgeting $750.
Because a lot of what was going on was position changes and where, as an example, we had the new position of the Parks Senior Planner.
Yeah,
So as part of that, even though Jenny was already part of our city, we still had to because there's gonna be somebody else coming and we had computers, we had desks, we had
the addition of FTE.
licenses, we had things that had to be
Okay,
taken into account. So
cool.
a lot of that is just the new positions that we have come
Yeah.
on and changes as we've had.
That makes
And a lot of it is also to the licensing, so.
licensing for,
different things like
Software.
Software, like
Oh.
internet software.
That's a lot to bring on new people.
Yeah,
Just
my
their salary.
goodness, I was like, wow, that's.
Over at community center.
Yeah.
So a line item in there for, I thought was tree evaluation. Like $3,500 or something. Don't we have our own tree arborist in the parks?
Well, if you're talking about the 005 in the facilities section, which is a 7602.
I don't know where it is. I remember reading it.
It's this one, 3-80. It's the 005-761-3555.
7613.
The senior center facility maintenance is the
Okay, well,
provisional
that's-
seat for.
Yeah, that's part of this senior center stuff and that's something we budget for, but it's not something that I can talk to you about because I don't have a clue.
Well, I thought if we had our own tree arborist, we could, manage that ourselves.
Are you talking about the tree evacuation of $3,700?
Yeah, whatever that was.
Yeah, well, we might have an arborist. An arborist is one that's gonna come in and tell you these trees are bad, but we still have to have somebody come out and do the excavation.
Well, yeah,
Do you wanna come do it?
I'll do it now. I gotta do one on my own property.
You're-
I got a tree at my house if you wanna come do my tree.
Sounds like
No, I-
I don't think there's enough insurance for that.
Yeah, let's not throw down challenges.
I'm not doing it either, cause I just had
I know you're not.
I had two guys out of my place and both tree fallers refused to do it because they're next to power.
Is there any other questions on our budget or is Jenny able to move forward?
I think she needs to move forward.
I don't have any more
Or
questions.
I don't need
Commissioner
Or
Wheeler,
Good one,
Commissioner,
yes.
Commissioner Good, Commissioner Wheeler.
All good.
I'm good.
I dig it.
All
Any
right.
question I have is just more curiosity that does not have to relate to this. vote.
Feel free to email me anytime.
Okay,
Would be looking for a motion to approve the 2024 proposed LPCR budget for this year.
I will make a motion to approve the work budget presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler. Do I have a second?
I will.
Thank you, Commissioner Larson.
Yeah.
It's much appreciated. All those in favor of the 2024 proposed LPCR budget, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, is there any further discussion? We have approved the 2024 proposed LPCR budget. Thank you. To get moved on to the city manager. Thank you. Sue Falash for that presentation. We much appreciate you and
Thank
all your
you.
work and thank your team for all the hard work you do. Yes. Moving on to 4C, the 2024 Park Board Work Plan Draft presented by Jenny.
Okay, so we have in your agenda packet, pulled up here is our work plan for 2024. We've been through and made some edits based on some projects that we know are upcoming. And so tonight is an opportunity for you to discuss the plan, determine if there's items to add. We're not really making a motion tonight, so we're just making edits, and then we'll bring a final version to vote on for the next December meeting.
So item number 25, it was gonna be the park rules related to e-bikes and e-scooters.
Right.
I know that's been a hot topic.
Yeah.
Is there a way we could maybe kind of incorporate what we just heard today about the trails? I
Yeah.
know they're not in the parks themselves, but if a comprehensive, request
Yes.
to the
and-
council.
Yes, and that is a lot of what this is. It's
Okay.
basically,
Working towards number 25.
yes, and that is all of my research. I've talked to the other agencies about their rules, and so it will.
My past place, we had, so much problems because we wanted to put the vehicles on the streets in the bike lanes and we didn't want them on the sidewalks. And then we changed the rules because the state wanted us to put them on the sidewalks. And then we had parks come in and say they wanted to do something completely different. So we had 3 different sets and it's just a nightmare. And then once somebody crashes, everybody sues everybody.
Right, right. So, yes, that is, I've done preliminary research, I've talked to Olympia, for sure, the one thing is, we all need to be consistent. It's a little bit trickier to define what is an e-bike and what
Yes.
is an e-scooter.
Yeah.
So can we, for number 25, speaking of that, do the e-bikes and the e-scooters, can we add that it's all here, but can we also put the TRPC organization in that line item that we will be partnering with them? Just
Yeah.
for our or, going forward, somebody's in their door.
There's cops everywhere in the building. They're doing technical training. So,
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good thing to know.
Thank you.
Not that we wanna see cops 25 with their guns.
No.
And also on, I think, at this point for number 15 for the wildlife information, I think we should do a partnering on that one as well with what we talked about. The stream team,
Yes.
and we probably would like to, if Vice Chair Good, are you on the call or can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi. Vice Chair, for the wildlife information, are you okay with getting the information from Stream Team? to
Yes.
look? Jenny provided it to me and because we've just been talking about this, and so I wanted to loop you into that information if you're still interested in working on that as a project together?
Yes, if you want to forward it to me, I'll be happy to.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. The number 18. Dogs off leash issues and
How can I be involved in that? Cause I have some ideas.
Okay.
And also some research.
I'm planning on coming next meeting, with some data that I collected. And so I think next meeting we'll have some items to talk about.
Okay, cool.
And I have one more, sorry, Jenny. I have a question on the Lake Lowe's Habitat Reserve number 31 for the interpretive signage and brochures.
Yeah.
Is that also included with this wildlife information or is that a separate?
That's separate.
Okay,
I think that,
Is
from
that
what I
only with-
understand, is like the actual signs at the park.
okay, because these are the ones that are all spray and painted and broken down and
Right,
torn down.
Right,
Okay.
and the actual paper brochure
I
is.
saw a big
very-
buck come out of there,
Where?
A what?
across from the community, and that's
Lake
what you're
Lowe's?
talking
Oh,
about.
Yeah, you saw what?
Big buck, deer.
Oh, buck. Oh,
We
okay.
got two of them running out by my house, big ones, and the other
Oh
day they were down there at Union Mills corner, they crossed there.
my gosh, you should get a picture of that.
They don't stay long. Sometimes.
And then that's all that I have. Everything else looked fine to me. Is there anyone else who had questions, comments, additions? Would you like to do a? Well, our youth council representative, Nate. He's wanting to do a project, with the cleanliness of our parks.
Okay, so across for the past 2 days, including today, I went around to about 7 parks, Wonderwood, Bush, Thornbury, Rainier Vista, Horizon Point, and Avonlea. Something that I found, particularly at Bush Park, was a lot of cigarette butts. And, I was wondering, well, I guess one thing is about maybe no smoking signs or just somewhere. I mean, no one should be doing it in the first place, so there should probably be a sign there, but I guess a place to dispose them, but not really. I don't know. Just some type of long-term solution to that, since I've noticed that it is a problem.
But I think in accordance with a work plan, maybe putting on there for the youth council that he would like to work on like trash pickup with the National Honor Societies and the
Okay.
school program. And so it'd be kind of and I gave him Sarah Buck's information from the city of Lacey for him to partner with her because they provide the trash bags, the vests and the picker. So they could do a project where it would work with Public Works.
Yes, I will, and actually, it would probably be more me, because we have an adoptive park trail program,
Yeah.
so
You will be her
temporarily, yes, temporarily,
Fill that position.
right. So I will follow up with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
And there's no organized labor issues with that.
No, we already have the adopted trail and some other things going on, so it benefits right into what we've already. Put a lot of time into getting it established, so. I think it's just a great compliment.
Yeah,
It's adoptive park.
it started as adopted trail, and then we changed it to adopted park, and so we do have some.
Alternate options.
But then we also do just have groups that come in and just don't adopt and just do cleanup on their own at random times.
I love that, Jenny. See, your list of wealth of knowledge. See, I told you, I told you.
You're so easily.
Do the high school junior, senior still have to do like a community project? And so could this qualify for that to
They have some
graduate?
volunteer time.
They do have volunteer time or required volunteer time, but no community.
Okay, but this volunteering could maybe qualify for that.
It would,
That's
so.
great.
I love it. And then take photos for it and bring us to us so we can see everybody. That would be amazing. I love it when people keep our parks. clean.
The cigarette butts in parks or smoking in parks issue is similar, I think, to the dogs off leash, and that it's a rule. It's difficult to enforce, and so how do you influence behavior in a positive way?
And I do know that, you know, we approved the new signage, rules signage in our parks, and I know that they are rolling those out. My guess is they probably haven't rolled that out to Bush Park. I think they're hitting the bigger parks first, so.
Okay.
It is kind of, I don't know that people who are smoking and letting their dogs off leash are probably not gonna change their behavior with an updated sign, but.
We'll talk about it when you bring it here.
Right, yeah,
I
exactly.
have some ideas too, with
Yeah.
the homeowners associations. that
Well,
usually
that's
the
part of
ones-
the reason Jen was trying to have a, you know, a park ranger program that can actually rove through the parks and help actually take some of these rules and regulations and hold people accountable.
Yeah.
I think because right now we have them out there and then they're great, but if there's nobody there to enforce them. As you've seen, people don't pay attention, and that's the hard part.
And there's like Wonderwood Park has so many points of entry,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean,
That is a big park.
yes, yeah.
It's got a
so
lot
that's
of hiding spots.
Mhm.
It's a hiding spot.
But I think
Anyways,
that's a great, I think that's a great project.
I love it.
And actually, it's great that you've gone out and looked, because it's a fine line with volunteers of getting them, a lot of times they're excited, they wanna do projects, but then we don't often know
What projects to do.
what projects to give or where there's enough work to give them. So if you've done the
You have the
legwork
data
of,
to support
yeah.
your.
I'm still collecting, but I'm.
Yeah.
They keep collecting.
Yeah.
Right.
The things too is, Cody, with our team programs, they're reinstituting the teen volunteer program 2024, and you know, maybe some of this information they can take on and maybe, you know, they could adopt a park or do something. So, you know, all the information you get is fabulous, and I truly appreciate the time and energy you're putting into it.
I think the more eyes you put into parks, the more likely people will behave. They don't want to be the one being peer pressured like you're doing it incorrectly.
Yeah.
I think it's just a great way, and I think it creates legacy for other youth representatives to have something to strive for. Like, that's an opportunity for them. So thank you for doing that. It's a great idea.
Thank you, Nate.
Are there any other issues? Lost my train of thought. Oh, my.
I don't know if this needs to come up in my comments or here, but there's a repair that needs to be done at Wonderwood on the
okay.
playground.
Okay.
There's the 4 little drums and the purple one is broken every time we
Plastic
go.
top on it.
The plastic top, yeah, and it could slice somebody's finger.
Is Jamie on today?
He isn't, but I'll
My 2-year-old is like, fix it, fix it, fix it. Fix the drum. Yeah,
I know, and I saw the blue striping on the table, so thank you at Wonderwood. They had the around the edges because it was rusting and peeling and they put blue.
Oh,
I saw them around
Oh.
there on the edges. Thank you. And so you don't need it, it's not an actionable item?
Nope.
Okay,
clean copy next.
all right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Are there any other questions, comments about the work plan for 2024? Okay. Moving on to our 2024 Park Board nominations, and this is an actionable item. So this is nominations for this evening. Nominations only, voting will be in our next meeting in December. So are there any nominations for, we'll start with the chair position? Any nominations for chair?
Wendy,
Wendy,
Oh,
Back-to-back years.
you've done absolutely amazing.
thank,
get any better than you?
oh, really?
okay. Fearless leader.
That'd be in the presidential race too.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations? For chair? We have to have one more.
No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't.
No? You do a good job.
You do a very good job.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, is there anyone, any other?
Moving on to the next.
Moving on to the next position, our vice chair position. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Come on, guys, somebody's gotta help poor Wendy out.
Bill.
I was gonna say, no,
Bill, I was
Camber's
gonna
doing
say
a great
Bill.
job.
You go on, just rebel rouser.
Oh, Camber's doing a great job.
Yeah, so Commissioner Good, you have a nomination for vice chair again. For a second, are you interested in a nomination?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other nomination? No other nominations?
I promise I won't fall down any more hills. I promise.
No falling down. Well then, yeah, do we need to, should we just do vote tonight then, since we don't have any other nominations for chair and vice chair?
Yes.
Okay. So all those, we're gonna take it to a vote.
All those in favor.
All those, all those in favor of Commissioner,
Wait, yeah, I think this is,
can we do it in
You
December?
have to do a motion to,
Motion to
elect.
push. Okay, I would like to make receive a motion. Are we sure we want me to do chair?
Yes, we do.
I would like a motion to approve accepting Commissioner,
The ballot as presented.
can you just do it?
You need a script.
Yes, I need a script.
so someone needs to make a motion.
Accept
You-
Motion that Wendy Goodwin be.
the ballot as presented, Wendy as the president and
The chair.
chair and
We did this last
Amber
time. I
is the
felt it
vice.
was just as painful, Commissioner Wheeler, when we did it for you. Okay. I would like to receive a motion for selecting Commissioner Goodwin as chair for the 2024 Parks Board Commissioner, chairperson.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Triple.
a motion and a second. All those in favor of Commissioner Goodwin being chair for 2024, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. So there's no further discussion. We have a chair for next year for 2024. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for entrusting me as
We have to do vice chair.
vice. Well, I know, but thank you for nomination and election of chair.
Do a good job.
Thanks. I mess it up all the time, but I appreciate you all. So for the 2024 Parks Board Vice Chair position, Commissioner Good has accepted her nomination. Although I would like a motion to move Commissioner Good into, or keeping her as vice chair.
I move, make a motion.
A second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Larson. Thank you, Commissioner Dykstra. All those in favor of Commissioner Good as your vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, there's no further discussion. Our current and ongoing vice chair is Commissioner Good. Congratulations, Commissioner Good. Applause all around.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for letting me do this again.
All right.
And then, so now I think you have to do a motion to elect for both positions.
Okay.
Is that correct, Erin?
I didn't hear the actual nomination because I was
Writing,
but if the last one was to nominate, then yes, you need to get one to elect.
Elect, okay. So we will do a motion. Can I do both of them at the same time? Or do they all be something? Okay. I would like to do I would like to receive a motion for electing your chair as Commissioner Goodwin and your vice chair as Commissioner Good. We are doing the election for 2024. Do I have a motion to elect those commissioners for chair and vice chair?
You have a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you. That was Commissioner Dykstra for the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. If there's no further discussion, we have our chair and our vice chair elected into our 2024 Parks Board nomination. Oh.
Congratulations.
Suggestion for next year, we have a script.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that would be really.
To fill it in.
It's like a whole year that goes and then you don't have to do it. So I do need a script every year. Yeah, I need a, yeah. Well, that was kind of a recommendation that we were talking about is scripting for any of the new chairs and people that are coming into these positions when we don't do it very often, so. It's coming. Yeah, thanks. You're so wonderful. And thank you for the inspiration. But always remember, I can be torn down. Okay.
Try not to.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to 4E, our city council land acknowledgement policy. It's presented by Jenny.
Okay, so I have included in your packet, a city council resolution and policy for a land acknowledgement. So what you guys are, that you're, voting on tonight is action to determine how the Parks Board is going to implement the city council's policy and resolution. There's different ways that it can be implemented, but what we're recommending, what Historic Commission has done and other commissions is that we read the abbreviated version of the land acknowledgement at each meeting and add it to the written abbreviated one to the agenda. So the land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes, pays tribute and expresses gratitude and respect for, affirms the ongoing relationship between Indigenous people and the land and helps raise awareness of the Indigenous histories, perspectives, and experiences, past, present, and future. I won't go into everything, but I can read for you what the abbreviated land acknowledgement will be. And that would be read at our meetings is, we are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian tribe and the Squaxin Island tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people not recognized today who were absorbed or relocated into other tribes for survival. We recognize the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial, and their role today in taking care of these lands in perpetuity. We recognize and have the responsibility to call attention to the histories of dispossession, forced removal, and abridged treaty rights that allow our nation, state, and city to develop as it has today. We recommend that the community members read the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854. So that is, you guys, do you have any questions? So that is what.
Now, is there a tribe out there that was on Johnson Point? Is that part of another tribe? I heard when I was doing some work out South Bay that they came forward at a comment about that their land was. I don't know, and I just let it go and they had no issues or anything involved with it, but I think it was. Through the environmental process, you know, about if we dug up anything, we'd notify them or anything like that traditionally in any site development. But I don't know, I've never tracked it after that. It was a small tribe is what I understood.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with. What was the question, Jen? If there was a tribe out by Johnson Point. Aaron's our museum curator and knows everything about history.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that.
Maybe that they're
There
not.
were a lot of small bands
Right.
that were kind of.
Yeah, and that could be, yeah.
Got absorbed possibly.
Maybe that's. what this is
The only
referring
question I have for the land acknowledgement is where will it be given? Is it in the roll call, after roll call or call to order?
Yeah, it's usually after the approval of the agenda, I think.
Okay.
you can mimic what we did on ours. I mimicked what the council did.
Right, right, yeah.
Was-
Remember where.
It'll be
beginning.
on the agenda, written on the
Oh,
agenda,
okay,
so
perfect.
you won't have to memorize it or.
Thank you. Oh, where, I could not even.
We all kind of
imagine.
speak to it too.
You gotta memorize it.
I should memorize it. Yes, it would be good for me. With-
Do we have a, I mean, what is the position of the local tribes about this acknowledgement? I mean, is there any feedback or anything of that? I've noticed that this is kind of a more common thing that we do, but I just would really like to know what's the opinion of the local tribes.
Yeah, this is a good question, and I know this came up at Historic Commission. I do know that the city worked for several months on this, and they did consult with and work with both the Squaxin tribe and the Nisqually tribe, so,
Okay.
We're happy with it.
yes.
And I would add that it started with them.
Okay.
They
Oh, okay.
The beginning of it, and then we added to it, and then they approved it. It was a back and forth for a long time.
Okay.
Aaron knows.
I do.
Perfect.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Wheeler.
Thank you.
So I think, if you have more questions, please ask, but, the motion that we're looking for is a motion to use the abbreviated land acknowledgement on the board's meeting agenda and say it aloud at each meeting.
Do I have a motion for the city council land acknowledgement policy?
I move to approve the land acknowledgement. Policy.
Land acknowledgement
Land
policy.
acknowledgement policy.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Fosbury. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the city council land acknowledgement policy, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, is there any further discussion? We are approving the city council land acknowledgement policy as written. Thank you, Jenny. Moving on to reports, commissioners for 5A, does anybody have anything to report in the wonderful city of Lacey with regards to our Lacey Parks, Culture and Recreation?
I have a question.
Question.
The commissioner, there's commissioner positions that are open. Are they still open?
As far as I know, interviews.
How are we advertising for those?
It's gone out on our Facebook page. I just recently today sent it out to all of our Adopt a Trail contacts. We have a volunteer database, so I've sent it to them. It will go out in our next newsletter.
Be on the, like, posted on the utilities margins, you know, how we,
I'm not,
that was how I saw this one, because people read. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
they
saw-
read their bills.
Yeah, it was the insert in the bill. That's
I'm
what I
gonna read
did.
my bill before I read the newsletter.
Yes. Yep. And I received an email about the
I received that email.
email to send out.
So just,
yeah, no, that's a great suggestion for the utilities. I think we think of the utilities for like mass events and stuff. But we don't have a ton, we just have one opening, but I know planning commission has 3 openings, so that
Yeah.
might be a good.
because then we'll definitely reach a broader audience and that'd be good.
How many positions are open?
Just one.
One.
Nothing, it will escape my brain. It fell out.
I have a personal announcement to make. I'm expecting a baby in April.
Congratulations. 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Wow, you're gonna be so busy.
I'm in denial about that, you know.
How busy you'll be.
You give busy stuff to a busy person. You
Yeah.
get it done.
Yeah.
Well, we're neighbors. You can always come on by when you're feeling love.
I'll take my kids to the park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neighbors.
So,
Yeah, I'll dance with them.
okay, they love dancing.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Well, congratulations.
but yeah, that's why I have my snacks. I feel kind of rude, but
When are, in April?
April, mid-April.
Baby.
From you,
I'll be 2 weeks late.
from you, I don't peel a banana the proper way. I always did it from the big stem. And I seen her sitting there. Like the monkeys do.
Oh, upside down with the
Yeah.
little.
Yeah,
Hmm,
yeah.
So I do it all the time.
very cool. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations for you and your family.
Thank you, yeah, and I'll continue to be involved. I just, might have to bring a baby sometimes.
Yeah, yes,
So
wonderful. Well, any other announcements, Commissioner? I know that you could beat that. I mean, not a competition. Okay. All right, and then we're moving on to chair report. I have a couple things. So I went to the Children's Day insects at Huntsman Park. Please thank all of the coordinators of that event. It was wonderful. The vendors were great and a lot of children and parents were interacting and they had a lot of educators there with the insects. So that was really impressive. October 1st through the 8th, it was the Inner City Transit Week without driving. I'm not sure if everybody knew about that, but it was 1 week without driving.
Heard about.
Yeah,
What week was that?
the October 1st through the 8th. Yeah, I did it. And it's really challenging because I had to, like, they say you can borrow rides from people and friends and neighbors. And so
It's hard.
yeah, it was different. I'm used to the bus and everything, but if you ever haven't participated in, I think it's an incredible experience to meet your community members, and my reading time increased dramatically. I
Oh, I
had to
bet.
read a lot. And then I learned a couple new skills on navigating because I had to take a few more bus routes than I was used to. So getting familiar with some of the routes and that they had changed. Because 60 doesn't go where it goes. So I did a running exercise. An appointment. So it was fun. October 20th, Commissioner Larson took us out to his property. I don't know if he'll ever do another presentation, but it was wonderful. It's beautiful out at Cairo. The cabins are amazing. The barn and the history of the barn was impressive. So I want to thank you for opening your home to us to go explore and meeting Zoe and Onyx. Yeah, they were wonderful. So thank you for doing that. October 25th, the Inner City Transit Authority Board met at Mercado. So there was Emily Bergkamp, Jana Demas, and Ryan Wheaton. I got to meet them. Interesting candidates, all have very diverse backgrounds. So if you get an opportunity to meet with them, they're very informative about transit and engineering, lots of engineers, very smart. And then upcoming, if anyone's interested, we do need help at the cold weather shelter for Sergio's at Interfaith. So if you're interested, they have a orientation that you can do to help during the cold months. And then the Thurston County Food Project will be collecting food on December 8th and 9th. I have their website if you need any information on that to help out your fellow community members. Or if you're interested in donating food, please let me know. I'm happy to help.
Where is that? Is that
Yeah, Thurston County Food Project. Yeah, it's a support, it's the Green Bay program. We pick up food from your house during the holidays, so. Just to help out local community members. So that's all that I have for chair. The recreation manager, do you have anything?
We'll have some good news and some bad news.
Only-
Only look at it. We do have our recreation coordinator on through the sad news list that Doug has left us. And he was a wonderful addition to our team. Great personality, great, just a really all around nice guy. He moved back east with his family, which I'm happy for. That closed today at 5. So I'll take a look at those applications here shortly. We thought we had somebody for Jenny's position, and sadly, though they had accepted, they have rescinded their acceptance on Monday, so that position is now back open. And as you know, Sarah is no longer with us as well, so we are advertising that position as well. So we're a little slim in the recreation department at the moment. Jenny is still graciously helping with the aquatics because I might shoot myself if she didn't. Because, yeah, it's a lot of different personalities, but we're getting through it. So hopefully we'll have some of these positions on I don't really look at how things are ending. It'll be after the first of the year, but hopefully we'll start out 24 with some really positive, some good and positive energy and some good direction. We have the lighted parade and the holiday lights, turning on the lights coming up here in December. Along with, Jeanette also has some of the, she has most of the stuff going on, the Shiny Santa. They have the Santa breakfast. Cody will have his day camp going on. Jenny's, or not Jenny's, some lessons are still kind of going until they're not going. Yeah, I mean, we rounded out this year, everything, the facilities. We've brought in more revenue than we expected for both the community center and Jacob Smith House. Things are getting back up to pre-COVID levels in a lot of different areas. Cody's gonna be starting up his ACT nights, which is the junior high Friday night activities. And they're gonna start those up right after the first of the year, and the schools are all really excited and on board for that. We have youth basketball that's starting, and they've got practices starting, and then we'll be rolling into games right before the end of the year, and then take a little break during Christmas and go back on for that. It's probably pretty much, we are having some issues with the rack synthetic. On the soccer fields, it was losing a lot of its grass tines, whatever you want to call them. They were out last week. Took basically a barrel of the loose tines out and have said that they had not seen they saw this type of failure in their old product, but not in the new product.
No.
So they're going back to see what we're gonna do, because the gold mouse at the parking lot side of the synthetic is very, very thin because of the loss of tines. So they're gonna have to come back and do something. So we're not quite sure what exactly, if they're just gonna have to.
Is that like a
redo.
warranty issue at this point?
It is, because
Oh.
we just did it.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, not nice that it's
That's not
happening,
nice.
but-
No, it's just a really bad timing, because this is the time of year when that is used the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah,
So did their thing and they went back, and so we'll be hearing back from Julie and Jamie on how that is all transgressing here shortly.
so that's the bad.
That's the bad. Oh, the bad was that our person that we thought we were gonna have kind of.
They backed out.
I like how you
Yeah.
did that though. It was like good, then bad, then good, then bad, then good. You kind of
It's
peppered
kind of
it.
up and down.
Balanced things
Yeah,
out.
yeah, it was great. Thank you for doing it that way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but losing 3 people at the top level.
I know.
Yeah, that's
It's not-
a lot.
I think this is probably the most turnover our department has seen in such a
At one
short,
time.
right? We've been pretty
But okay,
lucky
but
where
let's-
we.
okay, wait, but here's how you have to really honestly look at it. It's not all necessarily turnover. Because you didn't leave, you got promoted into a
Right.
different position, so that opened up that one.
Yeah.
Doug had personal reasons for wanting to move, so it's not people are vacating the department, it's
They're unhappy.
just situations
Yeah, right.
happened.
Well, if there's anything I can help with volunteering wise, let me know.
I got
When
it
do you
for
do it?
you.
Yeah, I got
Just wait.
for free. You can be free.
I think I got you on speed dial.
You got free.
And Sarah, that was gonna be in the director's report. I don't think everybody knew, but Sarah was, she took a position at Tacoma Power. So she moved on, and her last day was Friday, so.
They
just the-
they pay like 20% more. You can never. turn it down.
It's closer to home, she lives in Seattle,
Yeah.
Oh,
so.
was she commuting down here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's long.
yeah, that's.
Yep.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Want me to go with parks maintenance?
Yes.
Okay, Jamie's not here, but portable bleachers were donated through the Parks Enhancement Program, and they were moved to the rack in Near Vista. They are, they've removed a large ash tree. They had 2 staff that attended a week-long training in February to learn process of planning maintenance management program for park property. It's includes a capstone project that takes about 80 hours to complete. So they finished that in October. Exciting. And it's time of year where they're just doing a lot of routine maintenance. They aerated all the parks. They winterized 70 irrigation systems in parks and right of ways. Dethatched problem turf areas, moved 150 yards of leaves. added 50 yards of fall protection material to playgrounds at the rec. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Well, thank them for everything they do. Appreciate it very much.
I will move into my report, which is construction and design team is moving forward on the Woodland Creek Park Bridge Replacement Project. They're negotiating with SCJ Alliance on design services.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, that bridge is getting pretty bad.
It is very scary. Yeah, there's holes now. You can kind of see the water running now. I mean, I like the salmon and everything and I want to see them, but not that, I don't want to fall in.
Sue, Jen, and I attended the National Recreation and Park Association Annual Conference. October 10th through 12th in Dallas, so that was great. A lot of information to take in, and the other report is just recruiting for a new Parks Board member, so I sent that out to you if you guys know anyone. And I'm pretty sure I looked this up, that the person that is coming in for Chris's spot has to be in the city of Lacey, so we're allowed a couple UVA members, but those are already taken, so it has to be a city.
In city limits.
And then Jen's report, Greg Cuyo Park, Phase 1A, the capital projects team reported to city council at October 12th work session. Construction is looking like no later than early 2025. The adjusted site plan should be completed by late October. The 90% design will kick off. Permits will be submitted in November. And 100% design is intended to be completed by mid-March.
So 25 completion.
Yes, no later than early 2025. Mayor's Gala was held on October 20th. Proceeds went to the Veteran Services Hub. And I don't know if they have a final tally, but she thought it was close to $40,000 that was raised. And also Sarah Smith resigned, so we're sad to see her go. In the interim, Erin and I will be covering Historic Commission and Parks Board, so bear with us.
Thank you, Erin, for stepping in. I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
I hope I did it right.
Me too. I say that every time I come.
You're doing it well.
You're doing very well.
Also, City Council awarded the contract for the RAC parking lot expansion. And it was to Miles LLC out of Puyallup for 2.9 million. And Jen, along with other parks directors, is meeting with Thurston Regional Planning Council on November 8th to discuss the recommendations from the draft plan and establish a work group and also discuss holding an annual trail planning meeting of stakeholders. Where does it support? There's a lot of me talking. There's not other people. That's all.
Is there anything else for the good of the order this evening? Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 7:13 PM. Our next meeting will be December 6th at 5:30 in council's chamber or online. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening and all of your wonderful feedback. Have a good evening. See you at Wonderwood, Aram.
Yeah, hope to see you guys at the lighting parade. I'll be doing the emceeing, so it'll be fun.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was supposed to also ask you on Jeanette's behalf. Does anyone want to be a judge for the lighted parade? Or does anyone want special VIP seating for the lighted parade?
Oh, I mean, I have two kids.
You gotta get VIP.
I'll actually be in Florida, unfortunately, with my kids, so I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
Disney World?
Florida.
Or just.
It is with an organization called the Snowball Express.
Have a good evening.
Called what? Sorry.
It's called Snowball Express with the Gary Sinise Foundation. They send children of the fallen to Disney World every year.
That's so cool. It's a good time of year to go because it's not that hot.
Oh yeah, so yeah, my older two are gonna love it, so.
Yeah.